Have you ever found yourself watching your team needing to score a goal and not being able to create one single chance? And that is the moment you realize that your team is trash? I certainly did, and most likely you too. If that happened, it is most likely that your team needs one or all three types of players that I will mention here. Types of players that are key for an attack to be able to create scoring chances and to be as complete as possible. Let's start by talking about the first player, the off-the-ball boy. Who is this guy? And what does he do? Well, let me explain. This guy is a player who makes offensive movements without the ball, trying to explore spaces on the opponent's defense, trying to get himself into a good position to be able to finish, assist, or simply progress the play. Basically, it's being a nuisance that creates constant problems for the opposing defense. But like everything in life, this is not that simple, because not all players in the world are Erling Haaland, who is basically the off-the-ball god. This is because he knows how to move inside the box in a situation where the spaces are very limited. And he is also incredible, exploiting bigger gaps on the opposing defense, when the space between the defensive line and the goalkeeper is greater. And if your team's striker isn't good at any of these types of movements, it's time to sell him. But the off-the-ball guy has a very unhealthy relationship with the next type of player, the creative boy. Yeah, just like that annoying couple, that can't live or do anything without each other. Well, the off-the-ball boy and the creative boy are exactly like that. They are completely dependent on each other. Because to have an impact on the game, they need each other. The creative boy is usually more associated with the role of a playmaker, a player who plays in very advanced areas on the pitch, that can understand where the free spaces are, and at the same time be aware of his teammates' movements that seek to attack those same spaces. Then, this player needs to have the passing quality to put the ball in the right place at the right time, so that his teammate has the best possible conditions to do some damage. A player who fits this profile is the, unfortunately, always injured Pedri, with such a high level of passing quality and vision of the game that almost reached the level of Zlatan's ego. Given that, in this same creative boy profile, I also decide to include players that normally occupy the sides of the pitch, such as wingers and fullbacks, who are not normally associated with passing creativity, but have a very useful weapon that, in my opinion, fits into this profile, which is the ability to cross the ball. Because when the opposing team decide to defend the central space of the pitch like Leonidas and his 300 Spartan soldiers, and making the center of the pitch impenetrable, the offense has to resort to other solutions, and one of them is to circulate the ball to the wings and create goal threats through crosses. Therefore, a good wing player has to be able to define the best type of cross, taking into account the situation that they are in and the characteristics of his teammates and opponents. But now let's talk about the third and final profile. This player doesn't need anyone to create scoring chances for him or his teammates. He alone can decide a game. Of course, I'm talking about the dribbly boy. He could either be a more raw player, who is more dependent on his physical attributes, such as his size, strength, balance, and speed, often called as a progressive ball carrier that sometimes looks like an unstoppable train in the middle of the pitch. But we also have another type of dribbly boy, the much more technical type of player that has a high level of footwork, agility, and acceleration, and therefore he will be more effective in short spaces. The translation of dribbly boy in Spanish is Lionel Messi. In terms of this attribute, I think he is without a shadow of a doubt the best I've ever seen play. It's not exactly the most exciting or flashy dribbler, but it's certainly the most effective one. But I have to admit that even though I think he's the GOAT when it comes to dribbling, it always gave me more pleasure to see the Joga Bonito style of play that is a lot more catchy on the eye. And that's it. These are the three types of players your team needs to have a complete offense. But these players have to have enough quality for the level that your team is in, because if your team has a striker who is constantly offside, a playmaker who makes passes to the ball boy, and a player who stumbles every time he tries to dribble, your team is screwed.